everyone, welcome to our channel, Rebecca Stew and the crew. I'm Rebecca. Today we have a new Dollar Tree DIY, making 3 different projects. So let's go over the supplies for the first craft that we're going to make today, and I'll list the supplies for each project separately. So I found these wood puzzle pieces at Dollar Tree. There are 4 different pieces you can purchase, but I do want you to pay attention to the fact that not all of them line up and go together, so they won't sit flat if you put them together, though they will stack. So just be mindful of that when you choose your pieces. As you can see, like the pink and the blue one, you can stack them, but the yellow, the blue, and the green, you can actually line up if you put them a certain way. So those are the 3 that I purchased. Also, we'll need the Crafter's Square vinyl, or you could also use stickers. They have lots of different options at Dollar Tree. I'm going to be using some of this paint stripper and a paintbrush. Also, we'll be using some paper towels and some water. So let's get crafty. First thing we're going to do is take those 3 puzzle pieces that we purchased. And at first I was going to try to sand the picture off just because I didn't want to try to paint over it. The words were pretty dark and I figured it would take a few coats of paint. And so instead of doing that, I really wanted it to lay flat without a lot of the raised lettering kind of showing through, which is why I chose to use the paint stripper when the sandpaper wasn't working. So I'm just going to do a light coat of the stripper on top of the puzzle pieces here. It is paint that's on top of there. It's really well painted. I really actually enjoy these, but I wanted to make it a little bit different. I was making it as a gift for someone, what we end up making here. So we're just going to brush a light coat of the paint stripper on top, and we'll do this for all 3 pieces. Now you could probably try to use nail polish remover. That might also work. I didn't have any, which is why I just used what I had on hand, so I'm not sure if it'll work. It probably would, especially if it was acetone. So we're just going to, like I said, do a light coat of the paint stripper on top. I like to look over it once it's been sitting for about a minute just to make sure it's well covered and none of it has like kind of separated. And then once I have it well covered, I just wait 30 minutes. And while I'm waiting for that to kind of do its thing, I'm going to take this vinyl from Dollar Tree and a light grip mat, and we're going to use this on the Cricut. So I found that if I take my scraper and I rub the top and the bottom of the vinyl before I cut it, it works a lot better because it doesn't always work depending on what style of vinyl you have. I really like their iron-on vinyl. I think it works really well, but the regular vinyl, not always the best. But I did find a light grip mat, and then making sure you really rub down the vinyl to make sure it's stuck to the backing helps a lot. And then when we put this in our Cricut and choose our design, I choose copy paper as the setting. I don't choose any vinyl settings. It will just rip it to shreds pretty much and lift up off the bottom. But as you can see here, it cut really well using the paper setting, and it really helps if you use a bigger design. The smaller design we seem to have the most trouble with, the Dollar Tree vinyl, but it will work in a machine if you kind of play with it and learn the settings that will work best for your Cricut. And again, you could use stickers if you like. I just wanted to, make this as a gift for someone. So now I'm just going to use a plastic scraper to remove the top layer of paint. And then I take a damp paper towel and I just start rubbing all the excess paint off. I was able to get all the way down almost to the bare wood here, and I do end up painting the top of this, but like I said, I really wanted to get that dark lettering off. It was raised up off of the back a little bit, and I really didn't want to see the outline of the lettering when I painted it. I wanted it to have a nice smooth surface, so that's why I wanted to remove at least that top layer of paint. So as you can see, I just scrape the very top layer off, all of that paint stripper. And then as I keep scraping, I get further and further down to the wood. Now I did clean it up here with the damp paper towel, and then I took that little spatula scraper that comes with the Cricut tools. You could also purchase them at Dollar Tree. They sell them all the time. And then I used that to scrape off that last layer of paint. It came right off. As you could see, we've got the wood grain down below. So it's up to you how far down you want to take this, or if you just want to paint right over it. Either way will work. And we'll do the same process to the last piece. Once we have those done, we're going to take some black paint and we're going to paint the edges of all of the puzzle pieces. Now it's made out of that like particle MDF board, I think is what it's called. So it kind of really sucks up the paint. So it took quite a bit, but I'm just using the Dollar Tree black acrylic paint that they have, as well as the white paint to paint the top of the puzzle pieces. Now the top of the puzzle pieces, since I did it in white and you could still see the coloring through the paint a little bit, I did end up doing 2 coats of white paint, but for the edges, you're just going to need 1 coat of the black paint, as long as you put it on thick enough where it's kind of sucking that paint in. And then I did also paint the back of these. I just left the stickers on that were on there. I couldn't get them off. They were really stuck on the back. So I just took some sandpaper over top of it real quick and then painted the back. I always like to have the back of my projects finished, simply because I want to be able to put this anywhere in my house, or if I give someone a gift, I want them to be able to set it anywhere that they want and not worry about what the back looks like. So we'll just continue painting all of the edges and then the backs. And then once they're dry, we'll go ahead and paint the front. Like I said, I'm just using the Dollar Tree white acrylic paint, and it will take 2 coats. And it dries pretty quick. It's a thin paint. And when I say between coats, I let them dry for about 15 minutes. Now they're completely painted and dry. As you can see, it covered up the paint really well. We've got a nice smooth finish on the front, and then the black on the back. So now we'll kind of figure out where we want our wording to go. I did measure these pieces before I made the words. They're about 5 inches wide, so I cut my words out to be just under 5 inches, so they would go all the way across. And of course, there's my cat. He always comes to help craft with me. And then we're taking like that clear shelf paper you can buy at the Dollar Tree, and I use that as my transfer tape. So once I had the words on, it looked a little plain to me. I wanted to dress it up just a little bit more. At first, I chose to use these little black hearts that I cut out. Again, you could use stickers. And then I had these little red stickers that I also cut out and put on the backing here. I wasn't a huge fan of the red once I put it all together. I just really didn't like the way it kind of ended up looking. But when I was finished, I'll show you guys a finished picture of it with the red. I ended up pulling all the red vinyl off, and I went back and cut some more hearts out with the black vinyl. I didn't hate it. I just wasn't in love with it. So I decided to change it. I took the red off, and then I added a bunch of these little black hearts to the background. So let me know in the comments, which one do you like better? Did you actually like the one with the red hearts to kind of have like a variation, or do you like just the solid white and black? I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Like I said, I didn't hate the one with the red. I just wasn't, in love with it. I thought I could make it look a little bit better. So that's why I chose to do the black and white here. And I'm just layering all these little hearts that I cut out. And finding heart stickers right now at Dollar Tree is really easy. You're going to find lots of variations. They always put a lot out at this time of year for crafting. And of course, for different Valentine cards and things like that. I apologize if I sound a little funny. I've had a cold all week. So here is the finished project with the black. And now we'll do the supplies for our second project. So for this, we're going to use this little Blessed Pet Obsessed, the window clings with the gnomes, and we're going to use one of these die laser cutouts that say love. You can get them in these large packs from Dollar Tree. Also, we'll use some like scrapbook paper. This one's called Doodle Hearts. I got this at Hobby Lobby. We'll need some scissors, also some like a razor blade, and then a paintbrush. We're going to use a little bit of Mod Podge, a pencil, and some white paint. We'll also use a sanding block and a tiny little bit of glue. So let's get crafty making this project. It's super simple. I love using the window clings as a vinyl sticker. And as you can see, the sticker pulls off really easy. I just could lift the paper from the corner and just pull, and it came off super simple. They really weren't glued on very well. I noticed when I was actually purchasing purchasing this that it didn't have a lot of glue and they weren't glued down all that great. You can get these in 4 different colors. I like this one because it already had the edges painted black, which is what I would have done if I were, painting the whole thing. So I like that it was already done for me. And I'll use a razor blade here to help scrape off the rest of the paper. Now, if you ever remove the paper from these like MDF board signs, once you get the paper off and you've got just that little bit of residue left behind, I found that just taking either a wet wipe or a damp paper towel, you could actually just rub the rest of the paper off and get a nice clean surface. It comes right off. It literally takes about a minute to get the rest of that paper off, so you can have a nice, smooth, clean surface to work with. So I do that quite often. I will let it dry for a few minutes just to make sure all the moisture is off of the backing before I apply any paint or glue. So now that it's dry, you can use paint. Like I said, if you don't want to use the scrapbook paper, I just had some. I bought this like 2 years ago at Hobby Lobby and I haven't used it yet. I'm just going to trace the shape on the scrapbook paper with a pencil, and then we're going to cut it out with our scissors. It's okay if it's not a perfect shape. We can sand the edges of this once we apply it to the backing. Okay, so we're just going to take some Mod Podge and we're going to apply it to the back of this little sign here. I like to apply the Mod Podge to the actual sign more than the paper. It helps it not to wrinkle as much when you're putting it on. So we'll center it and smooth it out. Let it dry for a few minutes, and then we'll take our sanding block and we'll clean up the edges. We always want to sand towards the back, away from the front, because you don't want to lift the paper up along the edges. So it really helps to sand towards the back. And just clean up the edges and you'll have a really nice clean edge and it'll look like the paper has always been there. Now we're going to take one of the window clings from our paper backing there, and you're going to see the paper through the back of it. So what we want to do is paint the back of the window cling white. Once it dries, we're going to just add a little bit of Mod Podge to the sign. Make sure it's well covered, and then we will add our gnomes to it. You can seal this on top as well if you like. It's not necessary, but you can seal the top of these and it will dry clear. So the gnomes hung over the side just a little bit, so I'm going to clean up the edges with my razor blade. And now we'll take that little love sign, we're going to paint it white. I just wanted to help it stand up off of the background a little bit. Wasn't sure if it would show. If we just left it brown, it didn't really match either. So once it's dry, we're going to take a little bit of the Fix All adhesive and we'll add that to the back. You could also use hot glue if you like. And then we'll just stick this right to the center of our sign. And we've got this little tabletop gnome sign for Valentine's Day, and I thought that would just be cute sitting out on a little tiered shelf. Now for our third project and our final project, this is so easy. For the supplies, we are going to need one of these beaded heart wreaths. You can get these at the Dollar Tree for just $1.25. They're about 10 inches long. We'll need some yarn of your choice, also some scissors. We're going to need a ruler. And then I'm also going to use one of these roller cutters from the Dollar Tree. So let's get crafty. So the first thing we want to do is we want to cut our yarn about 30 inches long. You can go a little shorter if you like. It's really a personal choice. And I, of course, fold these in half. I always double up the yarn here because that's how we're going to put it on. So you want to do about 15 inches, fold it, and then do another 15 inches, and then just cut. And we will put these on the wreath folded in half. Now for the white one, since it was more of the Chanel style yarn that you can buy at the Dollar Tree, that's a little bit more fluffy, it's thicker, I did 3 pieces together. And then the pink yarn, I did 5 pieces together. Now to cut this one, I made it a little bit easier. I took an 11 by, I think it's 14 size canvas board, and I just wrap the yarn around the board a bunch of times, and then I cut it one time, and then all of my strings are about the same size, and I can cut a bunch at once. Just makes the process go a lot faster. And like I said, when I put these on, I do 5 together. So we just lay out the yarn. Now for the first one in the middle, I only did 3 pieces of yarn together. I ended up going back and fixing that later because I didn't think it was thick enough. But as you can see, I just fold it in half, and then I do that little loop, and we'll pull the strings tight so that they are between the beads and holding onto the wire wreath frame that's underneath of the beads that the beads are strung on. So we did 3 of the pink in the center. I ended up going back and adding 2 more strands for the white ones. Like I said, we're going to do 3 pieces folded in half. So essentially when you put it on, it makes 6 pieces. And again, you're just going to loop it through, and we'll attach this in between the next section of beads. If the little loops kind of get pushed over to another bead, just pull them together before you tighten it, and eventually you can squeeze them down between the beads and pull it tight. So we did pink in the center. We'll do white on either side. And I try to get these as straight as possible when I put them on. It just makes it easier to trim them in the end. And before you tighten it, really make sure that you push those little strands over and get them in between the beads. And then we'll just keep doing this. We're going to do pink on either side. We'll go back to white, and then we'll do pink again. And it's really up to you how high up on the sides you want to go. I will say the more yarn that you put on the wreath, the harder it gets to fit them between the beads, which is why I went as high as I did. I probably could have went about 2 or 3 more beads on either side. I just chose to stop where I was because, like I said, I was putting on 5 pieces of pink yarn and then the 3 pieces of white yarn. And when you double those up, it's 10 and 6. So that ended up being a lot thicker and just was harder to get between the beads. Now, if you only did like 2 pieces of yarn, you could probably fit a lot more yarn all the way up, but then it wouldn't be as full in the middle. And I really wanted this fullness. So once I have it about as high as I could go, I just comb the yarn out. I laid that canvas board underneath, and I take a ruler and that roller, and I'm just going to cut the yarn at an angle. And then I'll do the same on the other side. Try to get it as even as possible. And if you need to trim a little bit with scissors, that's okay. And I just added a string hanger to the top, and that was it. Super simple, and I love the way this looks. I hope you guys enjoy all of the crafts that we've made today, just using some Dollar Tree items and a few items from Hobby Lobby, but items you could also find at the Dollar Tree. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And here are some other videos from our channel that you might also enjoy. Have a great day, everyone.